Hello, I'm Courtney, what's up? And today I'm talking about a new Rick Riordan book after over a year of waiting, and I'm discussing the Tyrant's Tomb. If you don't know what the Tyrant's Tomb is, this is the fourth book in the Trials of Apollo series. It came out this past week and I read it obviously because it's Rick Riordan and like college wasn't gonna stop me from reading this book. I overall really enjoyed the Tyrant's Tomb. There were a few things that I wasn't the biggest fan of, but overall I had a really fun time reading it and I thought Rick did a really good job of it, and I'm very excited to share my thoughts about it because I do got some thoughts on this book. If you haven't read the Tyrant's Tomb yet and you do not want to be spoiled, I will leave right now because there are going to be major spoilers in this video and you do not want to get spoiled. So go read the book, come back, and then we discuss it together. So bye bye, not spoiler people. Alrighty, so the Tyrant's Tomb, boy oh boy, this book was a wild ride. So the plot of the Tyrant's Tomb is basically Apollo and Meg are at Camp Jupiter trying to help them out from an attack that's about to come from all of these evil emperors that we all know and hate, like Caligula, Commodus, Tarquin, probably just pronounced all their names wrong, but you know who I'm talking about. I thought the plot was interesting, but honestly I think it was kind of dragged out. Like, this book takes place in the span of like 3 to 4 days, and honestly at least maybe 50 pages or so could have been cut out of this. There was just a lot of extra stuff that like I thought wasn't really necessary. But I mean, I'm glad though that at the end, you know, all these evil emperor dudes are dead, especially Caligula, because he killed Jason, and you know, I'm still bitter about that. The first 100 pages or so of this book really focuses on Jason's death before it dives into all of the emperor stuff, and honestly I was like so prepared for it, but the whole situation was kind of underwhelming. I feel like when the camp and Raina and Frank found out about Jason dying, like it hurt and they were emotional about it, but it wasn't like they were super emotional. Like with Hazel, she lost it when she found out Jason was dead, which I appreciated because she and Jason were really close, closer than like I think some of us realized. Like, they had a deep bond, so she took it really hard. But like Raina and Frank, especially Raina, I feel like they didn't react to it as emotionally as I expected. Even though Raina didn't end up with Jason like she wanted to, they still were very close and meant a lot to each other, and I really wanted to see her just, I don't want to say I wanted to see her break, but I kind of did. I just wanted to see that deeper, more emotional side to her, but I feel like we did it, and that was just kind of disappointing. And I think Rick could have just written the whole situation more emotional because Jason dying is like a big deal. Also, I'm really disappointed that Jason didn't come back because I was one of those people who thought, oh, Jason might come back from the dead, and then he was cremated and I was like, well, he's obviously not coming back. Moving on from Jason, because I cannot bear to talk about him anymore because it makes me too sad, I want to talk about our new character in this book, who is Lavinia. Lavinia is my bubblegum gay princess and I love her so much. She's freaking amazing. It's so cool, and every time things were just going completely downhill, she could brighten up everything just with putting in some bubble gum. One of my favorite scenes in the book is when they're at the Senate meeting and you could just hear her loudly popping gum, and Raina's like, do you have gum for the whole Senate? And Lavinia's like, actually maybe. I will say though, it took me a while to figure out whether I could trust her or not, because she was always just leaving her post and doing things, and I could never tell if she like really supported Camp Jupiter, and I was like, girl, where do you stand? But in the end she pulled through with blowing up all the enemy ships, and I was like, you go, girl. Next, I want to quickly talk about Meg. Meg was fantastic as usual in this book, and she's just always great and funny, and I love her to death, and I loved her relationship with Lavinia. They are BFF goals, and I also loved this profound love she has for unicorns. Like, that was great. Now I'm going to talk about Apollo a little more deeper because, you know, he is our main character. We're reading from his perspective, and I loved Apollo in this book. He was so wonderful, even though I literally thought every 2 seconds that he was gonna die. You know, Apollo be going through some really bad things in these books, but this one, it was especially the worst because 2 seconds in, he gets scratched by this gull, and then for the next 400 pages, it's him just like trying to avoid turning into a zombie, and I was like, what is this? I felt really bad for Apollo in this book because he already has enough going on, and then him almost turning into a zombie was just the cherry on top. So I felt really bad, and I wanted to give him a hug, but I also think him nearly turning into a zombie opened his eyes even more and made him appreciate more things and appreciate his life and just everything around him, and it really helped him grow and become a better being, and that's why I keep loving him more and more, because he continues to grow and learn from his mistakes, and I'm just really proud of him. But I mean, I have to admit though that Apollo's suffering was kind of funny at some points, just because he would just think things were bad enough and then they would just go even worse. Like when he asked Raina out and she just laughed at him. That's the perfect segue into my next little discussion. Raina and Apollo. The ship, I never thought that would come into existence, because before this book came out, so many people were like, oh my god, Raina and Apollo are gonna end up together in the next book. And I was like, what? Like, it did not make sense to me at all. But then the more I thought about it and the more I was kind of like, oh, I can kind of see it. So going into this, I knew that Rick was obviously going to address Raina and Apollo, and it took a turn that I was not prepared for when Apollo started talking about how Venus showed him Raina and was like, if you try to get with this girl, I will literally hurt you. I was like, what? I just couldn't believe that, like, Venus had showed him Raina. And then, you know, we all know that Venus talked to Raina about how a demigod wouldn't heal her heart, and it was all just connecting together, and I was so shook about it. But I think what happened with Raina and Apollo was just right. When Apollo is talking to Raina about all of this with the Venus situation, everything, he's just like, you know, I'm not a god anymore, so maybe like I can heal your heart. And Raina just busts out laughing. Like, I wanted to feel so bad for Apollo in that moment, but at the same time, it was so freaking funny. I know some people are unhappy with how Raina and Apollo turned out, but honestly, I think it was perfect. I am glad they're not together, but that doesn't mean I'm happy with what Raina does at the end of this book. So at the end of this book, after the big battle and, you know, Camp Jupiter wins barely, but, you know, all the evil embers are destroyed and everything, this great. After all of this, Raina decides that she is going to step down as praetor and join the Hunters of Artemis, because they came because Apollo called on Diana, and that sibling reunion was so cute, by the way. But Raina decides to join the hunt, and I am honestly not too satisfied with this decision, just because I loved her being praetor and I know how much Camp Jupiter means to her. So for her to just walk away from all of that to go be in the Hunters, like, why? But I do get it, don't get me wrong, I understand why she did it, because being praetor has been very hard for her. She's been hurt and she's been alone. So for her to have this new fresh start, like, I get why she took it. At the end of the day, all that matters to me is that Reyna is happy, and if being in the hunt gives her happiness, then I'm gonna be okay with it. And honestly, I can't stay angry at Reyna for long periods of time, so like, honestly, it's fine. I just want my girl to live her best life, and I hope the hunt gives her that. So since Reyna steps down as this praetor, there's an opening for a new praetor, and everyone just starts chanting Hazel, Hazel, and I was like chanting along. I was like, yeah, Hazel! So Frank and Hazel are both now praetors, which is honestly amazing. They're in love and they're praetors. Like, that is iconic. Oh my god. Speaking of Hazel and Frank, oh, I loved seeing them again. They are so wonderful, and I'm so glad that they're one together, because after Jason and Piper broke up, I was really scared that Frank and Hazel were gonna break up. So I'm glad they're together, and two, I'm glad they didn't die, because I really thought Frank was gonna die especially, but boy, he took control of his destiny and the fire word burnt up, but he still lived, and I'm so happy and proud of him. But going back to that scene about Hazel becoming the praetor, I love how afterward Hazel's like, oh, well, that means there's no like Centron or whatever for the 5th cohort. And everyone just starts yelling, Lavinia, Lavinia, and Lavinia's like, what? I did not sign up for this, but she becomes Centron anyway. She's just like, why is this happening? And then the book ends with Apollo and Meg learning this new prophecy to end this huge debacle that's been going on with the emperors, and they find out that they need to go back to where all of this began, and that is in New York, which I'm so excited to have them go back to New York, because even though I love Camp Jupiter, I love Camp Half-Blood even more, and I just have a feeling that Annabeth Chase is finally gonna make an appearance in the next book. Everyone from the 7 except Annabeth has been in the Trials of Apollo books, so Annabeth better be making an appearance in the Tower of Nero, because I miss my girl, and for some reason I have this feeling that she is going to come up with the master plan to defeat Nero and Python. Why? I don't know, but she's, you know, super smart and kick butt. But I am so excited to see how Rick wraps things up in the Tower of Nero. I can't believe there's only one book left. I still remember finding out about this series, so the fact that we're nearing the end is just mind-blowing. However, I am super excited to see how Rick wraps up this whole series, and hopefully all of my favorites will still be alive by the end of it. But that, my friends, was my thoughts and feels on The Tyrant's Tomb by Rick Riordan. Overall, I had so much fun reading this book. It was a blast. So many great funny moments, and also a lot of stress, but at the end of the day, everything was great, and I just truly loved this book. Thank you all so much for watching this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments down below, what did you think of The Tyrant's Tomb? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Just tell me all your feels in the comments down below. And I am Courtney, and I'll see you all next time with a new video soon, so I will see you then. So bye!